PS2 emulation on Nintendo Switch is real, and there are games that's confirmed running at full speed. Even the best running games will have slowdowns because the Switch's CPU is the bottleneck. However, it doesn't ruin the overall performance. So from all the games tested, these are the best ones, so let's dive into it. The emulator is Ether SX2 version 1.4-3060 on Switchroot Android 10. Our Tonelico, Melody of Elemia runs great, and it's no surprise since it's not a graphically demanding game. The only times there were real slowdowns were on the world map, but it's acceptable. Army Men, RTS runs great overall, but there are slowdowns when there's a lot happening on the screen, such as many enemy units. It's mostly audio stutter, so it doesn't slow down the combat. Barbarian is an example of a game that needs to have the settings changed. The majority of the games tried have the EE cycle rate set at 100% and EE cycle skip set to normal. But with Barbarian, the EE cycle rate needs to be set at 50% and EE cycle skip to moderate underclock. BloodRayne is another game that needs EE cycle rate set at 50% and EE cycle skip to moderate underclock. With these settings, the game runs great with barely any slowdowns whatsoever. Clock Tower 3 runs great, but there are slowdowns when going through doors and large open areas. The cutscenes are played at slow speed with audio stutter and you can't skip them, which makes the whole thing even worse. Crazy Frog Arcade Racer runs okay with some slowdowns now and then. This game is an example of a racing game that actually runs okay, since usually racing games run super slow, such as Gran Turismo or Need for Speed. Digimon Rumble Arena 2 as a fighting game is like what Crazy Frog is as a racing game. Smaller areas run great, but when you play areas such as Lava Lake, there are major slowdowns. The Dragon Ball Z, Budokai, and Budokai Tenkaichi games are the best running fighting games. Any other game will run super slow, such as Tekken and Virtua Fighter. There are more Dragon Ball Z fighting games, but the ones picked are Budokai, Budokai Tenkaichi, and Budokai Tenkaichi 3 because they have the least slowdowns. Dragon Quest V runs great, and there are barely any slowdowns that's even noticeable. Maybe not surprising since it's originally a Super Famicom game that found its way onto the PS2, and then later got ported to the Nintendo DS. Fur Fighters, Viggo's Revenge runs great in smaller areas, but at larger areas and with many enemies on the screen, there are slowdowns. However, the biggest problem with this game was the controls. G-Saviour runs great for the most of the time, but there are slowdowns here and there. This seems to happen randomly, and it's nothing that's caused by anything in particular. Galactic Wrestling featuring Ultimate Muscle, the Kinnikuman Legacy is a great fighting game. It runs perfectly, and there's no need to worry about slowdowns because they're non-existent. Kingdom Hearts runs great, and its performance is way better than Kingdom Hearts 2. There are a few slowdowns, but they only occur after cutscenes. Manhunt needs the settings set to EE cycle rate, 50% and EE cycle skip, moderate underclock. This game has frequent slowdowns, but it's not in slow motion, which usually happens with similar games. MS Saga, A New Dawn has one of the best performances that's been tested. EE cycle rate 50% and moderate underclock. The slowdowns are minimal and it's only during cutscenes. Naruto Shippuden, Ultimate Ninja 4 runs okay for a fighting game. There are slowdowns during special attacks and combos, but it doesn't ruin the overall flow. Make sure the settings are EE cycle rate 100% and normal EE cycle skip. Oni is another game with one of the best performances. The settings are EE cycle rate 50% and moderate underclock. The slowdowns are close to non-existent and the overall flow of the game is great. Persona 3 Festival is quite messy even with EE cycle rate 100% and normal EE cycle skip. It runs great during certain cutscenes and fighting scenes. But in the classroom the game runs slow. If it wasn't for these certain scenes, the overall experience would be much better. Predator Concrete Jungle runs pretty great. There are some slowdowns during cutscenes and at larger areas with a lot of activity. Still, it's one of the games with better performance. Rebel Raiders, Operation Nighthawk runs great with occasional slowdowns. This and the remaining games tested have the settings EE cycle rate 50% and moderate underclock. Scarface runs pretty okay even with a lot of action happening on the screen. There are slowdowns, but they don't make the game unplayable. Silent Hill 2 is the best running Silent Hill game on the Switch. No matter if you're indoors or outdoors, the slowdowns are more or less non-existent. This game is perhaps the best PS2 game running on the Switch. Siren runs great and there are occasional slowdowns. It depends on the size of the area. Overall, the game has medium-sized areas, but at the larger areas, the game slows down a bit. Star Wars, Battlefront 2 runs great for being a third-person shooter game. It's impressive with all the action and fighting units on the screen because there are no slowdowns whatsoever. The Suffering runs great with some occasional slowdowns. They seem to happen during action scenes, but they're short and don't ruin the game flow. Suikoden III is the best running PS2 Suikoden game on the Switch. The slowdowns are minimal and only happen during screen transitions and cutscenes. What PS2 game would you love to see running on the Nintendo Switch? If you have any questions or requests, please let me know in the comments. Take care.